Inside linebacker position is a huge need for the Baltimore Ravens. There's question marks who's going to start next to Roquan Smith, Trenton Simpson, Teddy Buchanan, and a couple of names to throw out there. But Baltimore Ravens training camp started today. Roquan Smith talked to the media. So here we go. Now, if you haven't seen any of the press conferences or anything like that, I urge you to go check them out. Always some good, interesting stuff out there. Ranging talks about, bringing in Jair Alexander to how many presidents John Harbaugh has met in comparison to his brother. Like a lot of range of topics were brought out, but Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Roquan Smith all talked to the media. Very good stuff from there. But what I heard was Jair had a good practice, but I really want to talk about Trenton Simpson. Now, Trenton Simpson, linebacker out of Clemson, drafted a couple of years ago. When he first got drafted, the thought process was, hey, this is going to be our backup for Patrick Queen, right? Patrick Queen, we don't expect to resign. So eventually he'll take over and win the starting job. Well, that was last year, right? He should start. He should win the job. He should be the will linebacker for the Baltimore Ravens defense. And we tried it early, and he had some struggles. And I'll give him, the benefit of the doubt, right? We got a brand new defensive coordinator last year. The entire defense was struggling to start the season, which is when a lot of his really good opportunities were coming, was early in that year. And eventually Zachary Orr and the rest of the staff decided to make the switch. But now we don't have those guys that replaced Trenton Simpson. So now he's expected to step in. He has multiple years under Zachary Orr because, remember, he was the linebackers coach before. And apparently, according to Roquan Smith, he looks like a Greek god. He apparently is in phenomenal shape. He's been maturing a lot. He's been getting a lot smarter. He was already an extremely fast kind of pass coverage mold linebacker coming out of Clemson. But now it looks like he's ready to take that spot. But at the same time, we can't count out these other guys, these rookies and undrafted rookies that are going to be competing for the spot, because we know the Baltimore Ravens want their UDFAs, right? They've got UDFAs everywhere. And they've got one of my favorite UDFAs in Jay Higgins, but they've also got one of my favorite draft picks the Ravens made in Teddy Buchanan. Teddy Buchanan out of Cal, good, smart, physical pass coverage linebacker, one of the best pass coverage linebackers in football last year. Jay Higgins was a little bit better than him last year, but Jay Higgins struggles with the speed, which is why Teddy Buchanan was drafted. Jay Higgins was not. We got both of them anyway, so don't worry. They're going to be battling out no matter what. But Teddy Buchanan, brings an element of maturity as a pass coverage linebacker, because Trenton Simpson playing in college was kind of a versatile piece. You'd line him up at safety, slot corner, pass rusher, everywhere. Now he's just honing in on that will linebacker spot, not necessarily his most comfortable position, or at least most used to position in the NFL. Now he can really lock in and become that guy. Teddy Buchanan, he's been playing in the middle. That's what he does. He's a good signal caller. He's a good leader. He brings what the Ravens want on defense. So this is a legitimate positional battle. I don't think a lot of people are ready to really make that claim. I am. When I'm watching preseason in a couple of weeks, what I'm looking for, right, is going to be that linebacker spot on defense. Potentially going to be watching the cornerbacks just to see who cornerback 5 is behind Chido Awuzie. Potentially watching the pass rushers just to see how Mike Green is performing in comparison to Adisa Isaac and Tavius Robinson. But those aren't battles that are, make or breaking this season. But the starting will spot on this defense is the biggest question mark on the entire roster, right? Offense doesn't have question marks like that. It's, who's wide receiver 2? Is it Nuke, or is it Rashad Bateman? And that doesn't really matter, because either way, we're going to use all of them. And then, tight end, we know the offensive line for the most part. Who's going to be the starting guard is a question mark, but it's not nearly as big as will linebacker, because whoever we get at guard will be decent. If we get Trenton Simpson of last year, the Ravens defense is going to struggle. But he's had a full year. He can recoup. He can get better. And if Trenton Simpson plays like the guy he was drafted to be, this is the best defense in the NFL. But if he can't go and Teddy Buchanan has to step up, this is a really smart physical defense still, and the Ravens aren't going to be in trouble. But if neither of them are ready to go, the Ravens are going to have a lot of problems. And as good as I believe in Jay Higgins and the rest of the depth that we have, Jay Higgins, his problem is speed. He ran a very slow 40-yard dash. He's not going to be ready to play at the NFL level because of that speed. Yes, he's good in pass coverage, but that's when you're not that fast, it's going to be a little bit of time for him to adjust to that speed. So this is a huge battle. It's good to hear that Trenton Simpson is looking really good, according to Roquan Smith, the guy that leads the defense, the guy that leads the linebacker room, the guy that helps out and mentors Trenton Simpson. It's good to hear that. But now we got to see it on the field. We got to see what the Ravens do in training camp, how they do in preseason, and figure out who's going to be that day one starter. Let me know in the comment section down below your thoughts, your opinions, if you think Trenton Simpson can win that job. But thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more, and I'll see all of you again tomorrow.